The enemy of peace is not the Iranian people. It's the mullah's regime in Tehran. For decades, that regime has oppressed its own people, Iranians, who crave freedom, dignity, and justice, while that regime was exporting terror and threatening Israel and their neighbors and the free world. But history tells us a very different story about Jews and Persians. The first leader who restored the Jews to their ancestral homeland was not a European leader or a European power. It was Cyrus the Great, the Persian king who freed the Jews from Babylonian exile and allowed them to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. The Bible honors Persia for this. In the book of Yeshayahu or Isaiah, God calls Cyrus my anointed, who will say of Jerusalem, let it be rebuilt. For centuries, Jews lived safely in Persia, contributing to its culture, economy, and scholarship. Jewish sages spoke with admiration about Persia, a land of tolerance and wisdom. What changed was a radical Islamic regime that took over. No country in the region, not a single one, will never accept a reality where Tehran threatens their very existence. One day, when the Iranian people are free again, inshallah, the ancient friendship between Jews and Persians will rise again too, because tyrannies fall, but history, truth, and shared civilization endure. A 29-year-old Bahraini woman was killed by a drone launched from Iran. May her memory be a blessing, Allah yarhamha. Her death tells us something the world must understand. The Islamic regime in Iran conducts indiscriminate attacks. They don't distinguish between civilians and soldiers. They don't aim carefully. They launch weapons that scatter death everywhere. Iran is firing blindly across the region. They have launched cluster munitions toward Israeli cities. Weapons banned in more than 100 countries because they scatter explosives across civilian areas. That is widely considered a war crime. They even fired rockets toward Jerusalem, a holy city for Jews, Christians, and Muslims, during the sacred month of Ramadan. And their missiles don't just fall on Israelis. Some rockets have landed in the West Bank, hitting Palestinians. This is recklessness and cruelty. And every innocent life lost, Israeli, Palestinian, or Bahraini, reminds us why the world must confront the danger posed by this regime, the Islamic regime of Iran. Iranian missiles prevented mass Muslim prayer in Jerusalem. Think about that. Because of these attacks, every holy site in the city was affected. Al-Aqsa Mosque had to close. The Western Wall limited worshippers to only 50 people. Even the Church of the Holy Sepulchre shut its doors. Muslims, Jews, and Christians all prevented from praying in the holiest city they share. The Islamic regime of Iran kept firing missiles, making mass prayer impossible. Just days before, one Iranian missile landed hundreds of meters away from the holy sites in the old city. And yet, the regime marched through the streets chanting for Jerusalem. But if you truly cared about Jerusalem, you would not fire missiles at it. You would protect its people. You would protect its holy places. Instead, the Iranian regime turned a sacred month into another stage for war. Jerusalem deserves peace. Its believers deserve prayer. And the world deserves the truth about who is truly endangering the holy city. Let me tell you something about Iran's nuclear program. The IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, confirms something deeply troubling. Iran accumulated a massive stockpile of highly enriched uranium while refusing to grant inspectors full access. The agency said it plainly. There was serious concern, and it could not guarantee the program was civilian. No proof of a bomb yet, but every reason to fear one was coming. Behind closed doors in Geneva, Steve Witkoff revealed something staggering, something so shocking. Iranian negotiators boasted that they possessed 460 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%, not 30%, not 20%, 60%. That's enough material for around 11 nuclear bombs if further enriched. And intelligence later exposed something even darker. The IDF, or the Israeli Defense Forces, struck a covered underground command center in Iran, codenamed Menzadai, where nuclear scientists were developing a key component of a nuclear weapon system. This was not peaceful energy. This was a hidden weapons program. For years, Iran, or the Islamic regime of Iran, claimed its nuclear program was civilian, but the facts say otherwise. Iran violated the 2015 nuclear agreement, secretly developed advanced centrifuges, and then refused inspections when suspicious facilities were bombed. 3 rounds of negotiations gave Iran every single chance to choose diplomacy. But when a regime hides nuclear weapons while threatening the world, the danger is not just regional. A nuclear Iran would threaten Israel, the Middle East, and the entire free world. It's a humanity issue, not just a Middle Eastern issue. Because when a regime that openly calls for destruction seeks nuclear weapons, the world cannot afford to ignore the warning signs. The world must act swiftly. Don't say, I'm against Iran. Say, I'm against the Iranian regime. Don't say, I hate Persians. Say, I stand against the mullahs. Because the Iranian people are not the enemy. They are one of the oldest civilizations in human history. A people who gave the world poetry, science, architecture, and philosophy. They are the descendants of Cyrus the Great, a ruler remembered not for conquest, but for humanity. Cyrus freed the Jews from exile, allowed them to return to Yerushalayim or Jerusalem, and issued what many historians call the first charter of human rights. That is the legacy of Persia. But the regime, the Islamic regime that's ruling Iran today, does not represent that legacy. It arrests them, silences them, and kills them for demanding freedom. Worse, it doesn't even protect its civilians. It uses them as human shields while pursuing its ideological wars. So remember this difference. The Iranian people deserve solidarity. The Iranian regime deserves accountability. If we want justice and peace, our anger must be directed where it belongs, not at a proud nation of people, but at a regime that oppresses them and threatens the whole world. Let us not make this confusion between the great Iranian people and the Islamic regime of Iran. The Iranian regime is at war with the entire world. Look at what happened recently. The United Arab Emirates showed the true meaning of courage and responsibility. Together with its partners, the UAE intercepted and struck down more than 1,440 drones, 253 ballistic missiles launched in this war. And the UAE was not the only target. Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia were also attacked. Countries that repeatedly said they prefer dialogue over war. Countries that openly declared they do not seek confrontation with Iran. Yet, they were still threatened. They were still targeted by the Islamic regime of Iran. What does that tell us? It tells us that the Islamic regime in Tehran is not defending itself. It is spreading instability across the region. For years, Iran's neighbors warned the world about this danger. For years, they said the regime, the Islamic regime of Iran, the regime's ambitions threaten the Middle East and beyond. Now, the entire world has seen the proof. The Iranian regime threatened the security of the Gulf, the stability of the region, and the safety of global trade and peace. The message that the Islamic regime is sending is so clear. This is not Israel versus Iran. This is the free world versus a regime that thrives on chaos. And by attacking its neighbors, the Iranian regime proved that the fears of the region were not exaggeration, but actually they were reality. The Iranian people deserve far better than the Islamic regime of Iran.
When President Trump moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, I wrote a tweet, a very historical tweet, explaining to people why Jerusalem is not the capital of Israel because President Trump said so, but it's the capital of Israel because King David, whom we as Muslims honor, revere, respect, believe in, and name our children after, did so. And I wrote in the tweet, who was David? Who were his enemies? Who were the Jebusites? What was mountain of Zion? What was Jerusalem? Very scientific. And I wrote this tweet. I remember it was a Friday. And I took a nap. Woke up, disaster happened. Al Jazeera picked up this and they gave me a title, the head of Arab Zionists legitimizing Israel. And they gave me a title that I'm so proud of. Normalizer. In Arabic, it's mutabbi'. You know what's a normalizer? A person who wants to normalize relations between Arabs and Israelis. How dare you?
Many people in the Arab world are boycotting Starbucks and they're saying that this logo represents the Jewish queen Esther. Is it true? The logo actually depicts a siren, a mythical creature from Greek mythology. Sirens were believed to be enchanting creatures, often depicted as having a woman's head and body with bird-like features. But why a siren for a coffee brand? The answer lies in Starbucks' maritime roots. The company founded in Seattle, a port city, they chose the siren to represent the alluring of coffee and its seafaring history. The original Starbucks logo created in 1971 was a more literal depiction of a siren. Over the years, it evolved into the more stylized version we see today. So next time you see a Starbucks logo, remember it's not related to the Jewish queen Esther, even if it was. So what? But it's not. It's a nod to Greek mythology and the brand's maritime heritage. Please share this video with others so that they know the truth about Starbucks logo. And the truth shall set you free. A year ago, I had the privilege of meeting Noa Tishby at her home in Los Angeles. She's not just an actress or a speaker. She's a bold and articulate voice for truth. And after reading her book, Israel, A Simple Guide to the Most Misunderstood Country, I understood why. This book is exactly what its title promises. Simple, clear, honest, and powerful. Supporting Israel doesn't mean opposing Palestinians. It means supporting facts, democracy, and coexistence. A reminder that truth and peace are mutually exclusive. The conversation around Israel is the only one in which history is ignored or denied entirely. That's why I always say, when Israel defends itself, it must defend its history too. And archaeology is Israel's best weapon. The Jewish connection to the land of Israel is not a myth. It is the longest running case of national identity on earth. That is not just poetic, it's a historical fact. You cannot fight anti-Semitism by being silent about the Jewish story. And that applies not just to Jews, but to non-Jews who believe in justice, like me and like so many others. Peace in the Middle East will not come from slogans, but from partnership. And I believe that deeply. Jews and Muslims are brothers. We have shared prophets, shared values, and a shared region. We will build the Middle East together with Christians, Jews, Hindus, and all people of goodwill. Reading Noah's book reminded me that you don't need to be Jewish to stand for Israel. You just need to stand for the truth, and I proudly do so.